I shot a whole long first impressions unboxing video of these Royalty by Maluma fragrances, but unfortunately my damn microphone was not on, so the whole thing is scrapped. And I have to do a full review of these fragrances now. But either way, I'm talking about Royalty by Maluma fragrances. These are them. This one is Amethyst. This one is Garnet. This one is Jade. And finally, Onyx. Find out all about Royalty by Maluma fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, I did shoot a video, first impressions, unboxing. Never had smelled them before, but sadly my microphone was not turned on, and I seem to have that problem all the time. I don't like to leave it running because it drains the battery, and then it dies on me while I'm shooting my videos. So now I forgot to turn it on. Anyway, we're going to talk about these fragrances. They were blind buys. I wasn't holding my breath on these fragrances, knew that they were celebrity fragrances even though I don't know who Maluma is. I knew he's a Colombian singer, but don't know his music. I don't like pop music and don't listen to that kind of music anyway. But when I saw an article somewhere, I ran into an article and I saw this fragrance featured. And I'm like, that bottle is gorgeous. I want a bottle. So I went to their website to order, and I ordered all four because they're $45 each, but if you order all four, you get $30 off. So these were about $150 plus tax. So I think I paid about $160, just under, for all four 30 ml bottles in Eau De Parfum Concentration. So find out about what I think about these, because there's 2 for women, 2 for men, and I'm just wondering why they didn't create, you know, unisex fragrances, because, you know, that's kind of a cool thing to do nowadays. But they're definitely feminine leaning and masculine leaning, and I prefer, I'm not going to tell you anything until I tell you about the fragrances. Let me run down the fragrances. We're going to start off with Amethyst first. It's the first ladies fragrance, and I'm going in alphabetical order. But before I get to the fragrances, if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you still haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button below, and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So this is Amethyst, the first of the ladies fragrances. It's considered an amber gourmand or ambery gourmand fragrance, but to me it doesn't act too much like a gourmand, more just like a vanillic amber fragrance. And vanilla by itself doesn't necessarily go gourmand for me. It can, but to me it's not a gourmand. It's more of an amber experience. But for her, again, it's a feminine targeted release. But if you're a man and you've dabbled into, you know, vanillic amber fragrances, you might dig this one. It does have the addition of flowers and citruses, but this has notes of tangerine and clementine, pink orchid up top. Heart notes features jasmine, red rose, and orange flower. Base notes features amber, vanilla, and patchouli. When I saw the notes, I thought, oh, orange flower, amber, vanilla. Is it going to go in the direction of something like Love Don't Be Shy? It didn't go in that direction. But let me tell you about it again. It wasn't kind of a boring start to the fragrance. That top notes, the citruses, along with that pink orchid or orchid note, it's unexciting, I don't know, just kind of flat to me. And then eventually it develops into kind of a floral amber thing. I would call this more of a amber floral fragrance rather than an amber gourmand. But there are those citruses up top. The flowers are pretty prominent, but it's developing into a sweet kind of ambery fragrance with a little bit of a patchouli. It doesn't develop into a Love Don't Be Shy kind of thing, because the orange flower in here is not too strong. For me, it's more about the jasmine and red rose combined together with the amber and vanilla. Even the patchouli in this one is not too strong. It's there, but I think it's more of a base, a supporter, kind of like a, you know, woodiness from the base to anchor the amber and vanilla that's there as well. It's pleasant. I like it. I don't love it. Unfortunately, yeah, it's just kind of a very celebrity fragrance. And I knew what I was going to get into when I got these fragrances, although the review really made this out to be like a great fragrance. So I don't know if it was a sponsored review. They had recommended a few other fragrances, but I'll tell you about that one. But this one, I think if you're into celebrity fragrances, I think they might satisfy you if you haven't really dabbled into the world of luxury niche fragrances or luxury designer fragrances. These might satisfy. But 30 ml, $45. kind of seems a little high. Try and get a deal on these if you can. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Amethyst. It's a pleasant fragrance. We're not breaking any new ground with these fragrances. Obviously, they've been done before. Just one celebrity is doing their own versions of certain fragrances. And also, I don't know who perfumers are on these fragrances. They're not, you know, they don't have a mention of any perfumers. And I could see why, because you can smell the ingredients are not the most expensive. Like, and you can totally tell. Like one of the fragrances I'm going to talk about, which happens to be my favorite out of the four, smells like another fragrance I know, but you can tell when you side by side with the other fragrance is a lot more. You can tell the ingredients are a lot more luxury or expensive smelling rather than you know, synthetic and cheap smelling in this collection of fragrances. All right, the next fragrance is Garnet. This one right here. This is a male targeted fragrance, and it's a Fougere woody fragrance. I've never seen a Fougere woody. I would go with woody Fougere. These are taken directly off of the brand's website. This is my least favorite fragrance, with probably my second favorite bottle. My favorite is the black bottle, the Onyx, and that is the reason why I bought these fragrances. Got me excited. And again, that M totally has that superhero-ish kind of thing. And I was thinking Superman, but you know, it reminds me of Shazam. His outfit had a kind of a similar M, I think. But the M stands for Maluma, and it's the Colombian singer. Anyway, Garnet is my least favorite. It's considered a Fougere, woody Fougere. Notes include lavender and bay rose for top notes, heart notes geranium, elemi, and ginger, base notes olibanum, vetiver, and patchouli. Sounds straightforward, right? If it's a Fougere, I don't see any tonka beans, and people are getting away with calling fragrances certain things that not necessarily smell like certain things. I wouldn't call this a Fougere whatsoever. I would actually call this something similar to Invictus. If you like Invictus, you're probably going to like this, and it's that same ballpark of smells, just very muted mixture of notes that really don't make the notes stand out. The lavender is not really standing out in this particular fragrance. It just smells like a soup, like, you know, you've mixed this thing up so much, everything is blended so much together, nothing really stands out. So that's why this is my least favorite. Not only does it remind me of too many mass market designer fragrances for men, but also nothing really stands out. It's just blended so much together. But let's smell it one more time, because I smelled it in that first video I shot. Yeah, definitely. It's not anything I would rush out to buy whatsoever. There's way too many fragrances out there like this. Like, to me, if you launched this fragrance when Fougeres were like really popular in the 70s and 80s, I don't know what would happen with this fragrance, but people, I don't know. I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but this is not a Fougere. That's all I can say. It's like just an aromatic woody experience of a lot of different notes, really blended too much together to create like a very simple smell that people seem to find pleasant. I don't find that smell pleasant. I don't find Invictus pleasant whatsoever. In fact, Invictus is one of my absolute least hated fragrances. I can't stand that stuff. And on a previous channel, I actually took a bottle and crushed it with an axe. Yeah, I'll probably flash that photo or video one day, but let's move on to Jade. So it happens to be that Jade is my favorite fragrance in the collection, and this is the one that reminds me of another fragrance. It reminds me of Rouge Trafalgar from Dior. If you've been wanting that fragrance and it's a little too expensive, you might be fine with this particular fragrance because the fruitiness reminds me of Rouge Trafalgar, and also the floral touches as well. Jade is a fruity floral Chypre fragrance. Again, it's for women, but if you like Rouge Trafalgar, I think you can totally pull this one off. And this is, again, the best out of the whole collection to me. The notes are distinct, you can smell them, and as I was saying, this one doesn't have the most expensive smelling notes. It does smell a little synthetic and a little cheap, but once you get past that, it'll remind you of Rouge Trafalgar. But Jade features notes of bergamot and blackcurrant, heart notes of jasmine, tuberose, and mahonial, base notes of akigala wood, cocoa, and patchouli. Yeah, it smells really nice. Let's go ahead and spray it. Unfortunately, the feminine bottles I don't care for because they are clear. The male bottles are better. They're not clear. And yeah, this is that kind of tart, fruity. This really smells like Rouge Trafalgar. Absolutely does. Not as intense and deep and rich. And again, once you get past it, it does eventually develop to smelling very close, not as cheap as I was saying. But yeah, I think this has done a good job. It seems like a clone to me, nothing original, but out of all the entire collection, this is definitely my favorite. So now you know I'm not a really big fan of Onyx, sadly. I like Onyx more than Garnet or Garnet. But one thing I also want to show you, the feminine bottles or boxes have white inside. And the male boxes, male fragrance boxes, have black inside. Kind of interesting that they did that. But yeah, it makes sense that they made these, you know, bisexes. They didn't want to make it unisex because I think most likely Maluma's audience is very young and they're into, you know, not sharing fragrances, and probably when they get older they'll be fine with it. But again, I wasn't really thinking these are going to be wow fragrances. I just liked the bottle a lot, fell in love with it, and that's why I ended up with the fragrances. So Onyx is a Fougere amber woody fragrance. Once again, it's not really a Fougere. I would call this more of an amber woody fragrance, and Garnet more of an aromatic woody fragrance. None of these are Fougeres. I think it's a nice, I guess it's nice to put down that they're Fougeres because maybe it's trendy to have a Fougere fragrance, but they don't act like Fougeres whatsoever to me. So that's kind of a disappointing thing about the fragrances, but then it's marketing, I guess, right? So let's go ahead and spray this one. And this one has notes of cardamom, pear, and bergamot for top notes. Heart notes features black plum, clove leaf, and cinnamon. Base notes vanilla, iris, and cedarwood. I don't hate this one as much as I hate Garnet. This one also has a little bit of that wanted by night kind of a smell because of the cinnamon in here. It's very spicy. It's also a little leathery, but also powdery. And there's definitely a light fruitiness, more like a rich fruit rather than, you know, like the plum is a dark fruitiness. You know, you can totally experience the darkness of the plum. It's more, what do you call it, like a red rather than like a brightness like, let's say, for example, pineapple. So there's definitely a darkness about this. But again, I like it more than I like Garnet, but still, it's not really breaking any new ground. I would rank the whole collection with Jade at number 1, Amethyst and Onyx, you know, tied together for number 2, but kind of distant. And then really, really distant is Garnet. Again, don't buy these, don't rush out to get them. I don't think they're all that great. I'm mostly collecting, and I wanted to have these bottles. And so there'll be nice presentation here in the office, in the studio, or the library, and if a client wants to smell them and hasn't been able to smell them, can come in and do that in the office or the studio as well. But what are your thoughts on these fragrances? Have you sampled them yet? Are you excited to try them? Or do you think that celebrity fragrances just are not that great? Celebrity fragrances generally are not that great. I recently reviewed Eilish's Billie, or Eilish fragrance. I think it's called Eilish. Yeah, Billie Eilish's Eilish fragrance. And then just before that, this was back in December, I also reviewed Fenty by Fenty. But Fenty by Fenty, Fenty is a beauty brand by Rihanna. It's not necessarily a celebrity fragrance. Whereas celebrity fragrances are, you know, distributed by these random companies I don't know about. Fenty by Fendi is under LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet and Hennessy, who also distributes, you know, Louis Vuitton, Dior, Givenchy, Guerlain, Maison Francis Kurkdjian, Loewe, Acqua di Parma. So all of those are under Fenty. So Fenty I wouldn't really call a celebrity fragrance. And then the only other celebrity fragrance I've ever spoken about on the channel is Sarah Jessica Parker's Stash SJP, or SJP Stash, which is one of my absolute favorite fragrances of any kind. It's a great creamy woody experience, but sadly I'm way at the bottom in my bottle and the fragrance is nowhere to be found. Is it discontinued? For a while there I was doing a search. I would find a link to her website and it would take me there. It said out of stock, but now when you search on the website, Sarah Jessica Parker's website, it's not there except that her other fragrances are. So I don't know if it's discontinued. It could be. It's sad because that's a really, really great smelling celebrity fragrance. But these, unfortunately, on the other hand, are not. I'll keep digging into some more celebrity fragrances every once in a while. Not all the time, but as I said, these really attracted me with the way the bottles are, and I think they would make great collector's items. There's also the fact that they're 30 ml. They're really easy to travel with, so they could be perfect to slip into a bag and take. But if you gotta like the kind of smells these are, I kind of don't, actually. Sad, but again, I knew what I was getting into. They'll be collector's items, and we'll see what happens. But let me know if you're a fan of the singer, and if you've tried these fragrances, or if you've been curious to try them, and now you find out, does it make you want to go sample them further, or you're not interested in sampling them? Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out, guys. If there are any other celebrity fragrances that you think that are great for me to try, I'm curious to try. I wanted to try Anthony Hopkins' fragrance. I wanted to try Lionel Richie's fragrances. Or actually, Anthony Hopkins has one, I think. Lionel Richie has a male and a female fragrance. I'm curious about those. There's also Dolly Parton and Cher. So those kind of could be interesting as well. We'll see if I actually do those fragrances. The Dolly Parton and Cher ones are fairly new. I think they're from last year. So yeah, let me know if there's any other celebrity fragrances that are cool to try. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.